It's a lot of water coming out. Cool. What is up? Welcome to the channel. I am in the Donner Lake campground area right now. The snow is really starting to come down. It's about 3 p.m. We were supposed to get this storm last night. It didn't come through. It was sunny. This park right in downtown Truckee has a ton of these boulders like this, and there's always people, in the summertime at least, climbing on these rocks. They're really good for just bouldering on. So I've been thinking a lot about how do I crack the code of life, especially this year in 2026. How can I find a way to be more successful in the world? And being in Tahoe for the last 10 years, I've given a lot of rides to really wealthy people. And so the other day, I thought I'd just ask a few of them, like, what did you do to crack the code to get into your $4 million house, the $10 million house? And most of the people just kind of gave me this blank stare, like they don't want to admit that probably most of them have come from old money. So it's just this pass down of lots of wealth generation to generation, or maybe that they got super lucky. But the main answer was, well, I could always be making more. I'm not in the $20 million house. And I think it just goes to show that even if you're in the $10 million house, you're kind of always looking at, can I get into the $20 million home? It's really never enough for most people in general, I suppose. And this was over like 3 different conversations. The person maybe in the $1 million house, and then the 5 up to the 10 to 12 million dollars. And I kind of figure out their net worth just by the conversations that start off. Like one guy was saying that he bought into a golf membership and it was only $275,000 a year to just have access to play golf. You still gotta pay for your 18 rounds or whatever. It's just, that's the fee that gets you the privilege of being on the golf course. And so, you know, after that, that's genuinely when a comment like that, when I ask, what do you do? What did you do to accumulate your money? And it's just like this vague answers of, well, I invested, or I got into the tech field early, and you know, some say they got lucky, but it's like they don't want to admit it, how they got their money. And so it leaves me with the same questions that I've always had, like, how can you break into that level of wealth? And I don't think that we're meant to, just from the conversations I've had. It's like there's a club and you don't get there by hard work, you have to be invited. And I think the invitation starts off actually in university. And that's how a lot of wealthy people can distinguish themselves and know, like, oh yeah, I'm in the right club. If you go to the Ivy League schools and you're accepted, and just depends on how much money you've donated to the school, you know, I guess your name. But one person said college, university is really all about just networking, getting to know people in the businesses where you want to work at. It's not that the education's that much better. It's the number one, the price of enrollment is a barrier to a lot of people. You have to pay to get in, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that validates you kind of into that first step of being accepted into a certain class of America, let alone the world. And that's really why these big Ivy League schools that are really prestigious is so difficult to get in, is to keep that network pretty tight within their own socioeconomic status. This is like one of the outlets for Donner Lake. It just kind of streams down through town and then connects with the Truckee River. But the water looks really like this nice green color. It's nice. A lot of the times this will all freeze over, but right now it's just been way too warm. Even currently, it's kind of like the slush that's falling from the sky. It's not quite snow yet. It needs to be a little bit more of a higher precipitation, and then I think we'll be into the real snow. But it is always calming to come to Donner Lake. And it's cool because we're going to see a lot of the boulders. Generally, these rocks are all covered with snow, ice, or water in the summer. But I'm going to try and get over there to that side. So going back to the point of just people with real, like, FU money, basically. It's interesting because you can pick them up from their $10 million home, but they're still complaining about how much ski tickets cost, and just not even going skiing if they don't have a season pass, on the principle that the day passes are $300, which I totally get and understand. But it seems that in America, a lot of us are really worried about losing our money and our wealth because there's no social networks, like say in Switzerland where there's billionaires, and you know, if they get sick they can go get health care and they're not too worried about going bankrupt from the process of it. Versus in America, in reality, if you have a bad sickness, that could completely wipe you out just in the cost of it alone. And so no matter how much money people are making, it's always like a fragility to it where they're afraid of losing it, and thus it still makes people really frugal no matter how much money they have. And it just goes to show that so many people really aren't that much different from the rest of us, unless maybe you just came straight from like a ton of money and you know that you can't burn through it in like 20 lifetimes. Then you might be a little bit more like spend crazy. I know like that many people in these neighborhoods around Tahoe, they're in their gated communities and they ain't gonna lift a finger for anyone else, and they're just gonna do all they can to make sure that their assets go up in value, you know, at the cost of your housing. But the thing is they're all kind of looking for that deal. And if you are your own business and you're running something like, for example, just doing Uber, I have probably a Rolodex of like 30 people who are always contacting me for rides. Number one, because I'm reliable. I give good service, have a nice vehicle. I have never charged a cancellation fee, even if it's technically cost me money to let that ride go without a cancellation fee. So it's kind of like, if you're your own business, you can really grow it, but you have to be willing to eat crow sometimes and just take the bullet and just say, hey, I understand life happens. This one's on me and it's fine. And if you don't do that, you'll never have repeat customers. I think over any socioeconomic status, you burn people once and then it's totally over. But you can build a business around wealthy neighborhoods relatively easy, but you have to be willing to just put your foot in your own mouth, eat shit sometimes, and just take it. Even though you probably deserve some money and you're thinking, well, my landlord never gives me a break, why should I give anyone else a break? We as normal people are just held to such a higher standard of servicing the ultra elite that if we don't come through with that part of the bargain, we're totally screwed from the first moment. And also look at Donner Lake. This is pretty amazing. And I only bring up this about people with money because I'd imagine I can't be the only one that feels spited by those with a ton more money than myself. You know, here I am like struggling to make ends meet, living in a car. And you're doing everything you can and people just kind of blow you off and then cost you more money. And what you really want to do is try and like recoup some funds somehow. So that way you're not a complete loss. But you know the saying, F you money? That's a real thing where Donald Trump doesn't care about the sheep. He views himself as the lion. And he's not gonna worry about the sheep's feelings and its emotions and thoughts and how it's doing. Even if they proclaim like they care about the people in the society, they really don't. But the thing is, and the what you have to do to get ahead is to really serve those in power and those in charge. Otherwise, we're all just kind of like doomed here to a realm of meaninglessness. And you know, you might not ever get to that $10 million level, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you can get to a level where you can buy your, you know, maybe your $250,000 house and be comfortable, that all that extra money isn't going to bring you that much more joy. I mean, maybe some more convenience, but not that much more happiness. So it's like it's just the snake eating its tail when you just go after more and more money like that. So the sad thing is that because if you're of a lower socioeconomic status, we're kind of forced to be the ones with the morality, the ethics, and the good customer service and treating people with respect. If you got money, then you don't have to treat anyone with respect. You know, unless you probably put a ton of like actual effort into it. But eventually it'll probably all just crumble anyways. And so if you feel this way like I do at times, I think just realize that there's others out here where we feel spited and angry. But you gotta just keep faking it and just put your best foot forward, put a smile on your face, keep serving these bastards at the top, And eventually, I think that we can be accepted in, probably not to the highest levels, but getting accepted to these higher levels of society is probably a double-edged sword. You become like Jeffrey, just completely devoid of any morality, serving these demons, really. So the reward's not worth it. That's just kind of what I've been thinking about. Also, I got some new shoes. I never buy anything really new. Like, all my stuff I've gotten generally at like consignment shops, because everything up here, people buy brand new gear and then give it to the consignment shop. So I usually get things like at a good deal. But I just got some Hoka transport shoes. And with some gaiters, I have to say they're pretty incredible. They're expensive, but you know what? I've been doing long days on Uber, and for hiking around, I'm gonna try and keep my feet a little bit drier and be a little bit more comfortable out in this. This is just nuts. I bet, well, tonight's gonna be hell, but I bet tomorrow this is gonna be a lot more whiteness. Now, you might be wondering, Jeff, why would you leave Monterey, Pacific Grove, San Luis Obispo, Pismo Beach, all these great areas, to come out into the Arctic zone of the frigid winter? And all I have to say is, it's a very good question. I only have one more night though, of like in the car, and then I'm in the house dog sitting. So, booyah! Oh, look at this bird, look at this bird. You see it? It was just skimming across the water. Amazing. But this is gonna be like a little mini vacation for me. So that's partly why I'm here still. And it's a good view. Walking along the stream here in Tahoe. Snow's coming down. It's cold, yes. But you know, as long as you got the right gear for it, then booyah, strive ahead. That's what we're all about. Striving ahead, overcoming difficulties. Be all you can be. And whatever else acronym is out there.